If you live in North Carolina, you have undoubtedly heard of the Spivey's Corner Hollerin Championship. Okay, I can't tell if that was good or bad.
He was really into it. This weekend, the 45th annual Hollerin contest is part of the first ever Hollerin Heritage Festival. And 7-time champion Sheila Frye is here to tell us about it. 7 times?
Woo! You're like the Michael Jordan of Hollerin.
7 times? How do you do that?
Well, a lot of practicing.
Well, take us back to basics for people who don't know what is Hollerin. And it's not hollering, it's hollerin.
Hollerin.
Okay,
and it's not yelling and it's not screaming. It has a purpose. A long time ago, before there were phones, people used their voices to communicate. There were no radio, no television. Can you imagine a time without cell phones?
So people were maybe an acre or more away from their neighbor, and if they wanted to reach them, you can't just do it in your regular voice. You had to develop a specific style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a long time ago, remember now, there was no electricity and no machinery with motors, and everything was really quiet, and life was simple. So your voice is carried further because of the farmland.
Had to be louder than the ox, right?
Louder than the ox. Yes.
So this has a specific purpose. Very
Yes.
good. You've performed your talents not only in Spivey's Corner, but all over the place. Tell us about it.
I've been very fortunate to talk about Hollerin on the Late Show with David Letterman. The Game Show Network did a program called Games Across America, which was very popular. I've been at trade shows and the Megan Mullally show a few years ago. And so I get lots of calls to do radio spots and, and festivals and things like that, farm shows.
You mentioned festival. So in the past, it's always just been the Hollerin contest, but now you guys are starting to have a festival. So it's all day Saturday. Tell us what you're doing differently.
For 44 years, we did have the National Hollerin Contest on the 3rd Saturday in June. And they decided to change that because one reason was the weather, because sometimes it can get really, really hot.
Yeah.
That affects health.
Can't be hollering in the heat.
No hollering in the heat. So this year they decided to move to September and have it more of a farm theme. There's all kinds of demonstrations about sausage making and homemade biscuit making and quilt making, and there's a classic car show. So they kind of wanted to really go back in time to speak of things and to teach folks of things of long ago, besides the Hollerin.
Okay.
So we look forward to it being in September, and I think the weather's supposed to be great.
Yeah, so how did you get into this?
Well, I grew up near Spivey's Corner in Sampson County, and I've always heard about the Hollerin contest, but because it was almost in my backyard, it was just like it was just one other thing.
Yeah.
But as I grew older and kind of reached back to my heritage and learned about old-timey things and how my grandfather used to holler and aunts and great aunts and uncles, and I just became very intrigued, and so I started researching things in our family and researching about old-timey hollering. And I just decided to give back to my community and leave a legacy to my family. And
I thought you were going to say that you dropped something on your foot one day and you made a loud noise.
That could happen.
And people were like, you know what? You should be in the competition.
You know what? That would be a distress holler. Let me tell you about the
Teach
different
us.
categories.
Yeah, we gotta know
okay?
this.
All right, here's Hollerin 101.
Okay.
Long ago, if something happened, like if you had an injury, you just couldn't call 911. You had to holler. And so there was a distress holler.
What does that sound like?
Those are very distinctive, and they have that sense of urgency.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Or, woo!
That's what the ambulance
You sound
sounds
just
like.
like an
Like a
ambulance.
That's where it
siren.
came
That's where it came from.
All right, that's number one. What's number two?
That's distress.
Okay.
Now, the second type of holler would be a functional holler. Serves a purpose.
Okay.
When men worked in the fields and they ran out of water, they would holler up to the home place so their children could tote them some water in a jar. Forget plastic.
Yeah,
And-
like a
and so-
mason jar.
Like a mason
And
jar.
so a specific holler would say water, and a specific holler would
Well,
mean something
different
else?
families have their different signature hollers. So your children would know, well, that's Daddy down in the field. He wants some water toted to him.
What would that sound like?
Woo-woo! Woo-woo!
I can't tell if you're in distress or if you want some water.
And another form form of that would be calling men in from the fields for dinner. Now, where I grew up and long ago, dinner was at lunchtime. And you usually call the men in about 11:30, and you try to get their attention. Woo! And then the message, dinner! Now let me tell you a little bit about hollering.
You gotta hurry up. We only got 45 seconds left. So tell us the fourth one.
The third one
Third one.
is good morning hollers, like communication hollers. Like when you get up in the morning and you're feeling good, you just let out a little hooping and a hollering to your neighbor. Ah, woo, 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 woo.
That means it was a good night last night. If you know
I
what I'm
like
saying.
that. And the fourth one?
Expressive, just for sheer fun.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Do it. I'm pretty sure you're gonna break our microphones.
Okay, show me how to do that. How do
Come
you
on.
do that?
Okay.
We'll have to do it off the air.
Oh, man.
The 45th annual Hollerin' contest this weekend. Thank you guys for watching us. Hit it, Blonda.